Sometime in the future, humans will regularly live to be 200 years old. They will be in full command of their mental faculties at 100. That time is not now. Not yet. Our president is a doddering geriatric who trips over his words as often as he trips up the steps of Air Force One. He loses his train of thought, regularly lies about who he's met on trains, and his senior moments betray an exhaustion that exceeds his presidential abilities. That poor bastard. It is no wonder, with an astonishingly low 38.9% RCP approval average, those in the Democrat establishment are no longer whispering about needing a plan B. They're loudly advertising the need for a new, young Democrat to abort this presidency. Inflation isn't going anywhere, but former Obama string puller David Axelrod is among the legion of donkeys who wish the president would. It would be an easy fix if his number two were a trustworthy steward of the administration, but her off-putting hyena giggles and inability to describe or conquer a crisis make Kamala Harris a non-starter. It's not just the president. Leadership in D.C. is a zombie army of very old people who have been running this country into the ground for far too long. Nancy Pelosi, she's 82. Mitch McConnell, he's 80. Di-Fi and Chuck Grassley are both 80 friggin' 8. And Chuck Schumer looks like a super twink at 71. Enter Gen X to save the country. Generation X is made up of the stunningly apathetic group born between 1965 to 1980. We've lived through stagflation and the threat of nuclear annihilation at the hands of the Soviets. Sound familiar? And we are sandwiched in between two of the most selfish generations to ever inhabit the planet. Baby boomers and millennials. Two generations that gave us warmongers like Bill Clinton and George W. Bush and empty-headed blowhard socialists like AOC and the rest of the attention whores known as the Squad. They have a limited understanding of politics or economics and how they work, but somehow manage to take up far too much airtime blathering about their irresponsible policies that are horrible for freedom. So let Gen Xers take a crack at the political piñata. For a group of latchkey kids that has produced Elon Musk, Serena Williams, young Leo DiCaprio, Titanic Leo, Julia Roberts, Tupac, Kurt Cobain, and Kobe, we deserve a shot at fixing things every other gummer who's overstayed their welcome has wrecked for us. And we have to put in place some systems to safeguard the planet from the generation behind us who are too worried about safe spaces and pronouns to make any tough decisions. It is time for Gen X to save the world, and that's the memo. The average age of a senator is a fresh 64.3 years old. That's the oldest in history. Wait, I can smell the mothballs already. How long will they use their bony hands to cling to power? The party panel is back. Jason, Marie, and Jeff. Jason, I will start with you. I used to love golden Americans. They were my very favorite. I almost had a fetish for them. It is a category if you look hard enough. But I have to say, old people in power now terrify me.
It terrifies me too, Kennedy, but I actually think I have a different take on this. I actually don't believe this report. I don't believe that the Democrat strategist and the DNC ever thought they had a viable two-term candidate in 2020.
Yeah.
I think they chose the most compromised, complicit, compliant, and mentally absent candidate they could with the intent of doing as much damage as they could in the allotted amount of time. That's what Build Back Better is all about. It's controlled demolition. You can't build back better in your utopian green nightmare without destroying the existing political order, and that's what they're doing.
Ew, gross. So why are they just starting to realize, Marie, that Joe Biden is 79 years old? He is so old. How can he? I mean, he's having such a hard time now. The presidency is exhausting. How on God's green and golden earth will this person complete a second term? There is no way.
Well, the president has said that he plans to run for re-election, and look, we will all see what happens together. I think two things can be true, Kennedy. I think that Joe Biden was the right person in 2020 to unite the nation and to defeat Donald Trump and to start rebuilding this country as we come out of COVID.
The nation. No. We're at each other's throats. Everyone hates each other. Yes. Man of the moment.
I don't hate everyone, and I'm sorry if you hate everyone.
I don't hate anybody. I'm a libertarian. I do whatever you want to do. I love it. I'm all for it. Smoke. We were in the suck. I don't care. Do whatever you got to do. But leave my money the hell alone. Go ahead.
We were in the middle of an unprecedented crisis, and he was the one who said to the American people, these last 4 years, we're going to turn the page. I think he was the man for the moment, absolutely, in 2020. I also think there are a lot of Democrats who believe we should have the page. A new generation of leadership.
Oh, we're on the precipice of World War III. Nothing has been done about immigration, and inflation is off the charts. This is a crappy garbage page. Jeff?
I don't know why you keep screaming at me when I'm just trying to make the point.
I'm not screaming at you.
That a lot of people
Marie, I've known you for a long
Joe
time.
Biden is doing a good job.
I've known you for a long time, Marie. I think you are a smart and wonderful person. I don't think you believe a word of what you've just said. I think you're too smart and too analytical to believe any of that garbage. And that's a compliment.
Well, I do believe it. I do. I believe everything I say. Believe me, Kennedy, on that. But I know you were going to our other guest on the panel, so I will let you do that.
Okay. So, Jeff, do you think the president is doing well?
No, that's bubble thinking. I mean, that's strictly people who live in the Beltway or in certain media environments. You know, that's a very much a, let's say, a coastal perspective. It's not shared by anybody outside of, you know, politics, political circles, the Luftmenschen, the people of the air, let's just say. You know, Kamala Harris won 0 primaries. You know, she's not an attractive replacement for Biden. If you look at the younger crop of Democrats, you know, Gavin Newsom is now, I think, neutered. Cuomo had his problems. He's not that young. Jared Polis isn't all that young. You know, people generally don't like U.S. reps and senators. Governors tend to do better.
Yeah. I do like Jared Polis. For a Democrat, I like Jared Polis, and he's a zygote compared to the list of octogenarians. That,
but I think he's way more to the left than you think. I think he's got Reason magazine types fooled on the social issues, but I think he's actually a pretty left-wing guy. And I think on the right, you've got a formidable 43-year-old or thereabouts with DeSantis. So that's what this is really about. That's what the January 6th hearings are about, or trying to knock Trump out completely. And I think that this is all about a scramble for Biden. And again, I've said this before in your program, I think the putative front runner is Hillary Clinton. I think she's the most obvious candidate.
No, she's not.
That is the most ridiculous thing I've heard tonight. Literally the most ridiculous thing I've heard tonight.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Marie. Like, I would love to see her lose again, but there's no way they're trotting out that moldy mare.
Let's take a bet.
Okay. What do you want to bet? $1,000?
I will bet anything with you on air on that. Look, Hillary Clinton is not going to run again. You forgot Pete Buttigieg. You forgot a whole host of younger, up-and-coming Democratic leaders who are waiting in the wings, quite frankly, someday to run for president. When that day is, none of us know. But they are there, I promise you.
Please run Pete Buttigieg.
I would love it. I wish Pete Buttigieg and Mike Pence would run together. I would vote for that ticket because I love Hoosiers. All right.
Hey, it doesn't matter, folks. We got Dave Smith.
I love Dave Smith. I love him, and I want to hug him, and he makes more sense than anyone, and I hope he gets on a debate stage.